Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest on the cold weather that we do currently have spreading in for many areas. It's going to feel much cooler over the coming days. It already does feel pretty chilly out there as we start to see easterly winds starting to push in. Again, nothing too exceptional, as we'll see on the live radar and the UKV. It will be cold, probably not cold enough for widespread snow or anything like that. There could be some winteriness in some of these showers coming in on that easterly flow, and in areas, especially in the north and west, where the wind is lighter, we could see some quite hard frosts. Further southwards and eastwards, probably lesser in terms of frosts, but there will be a stronger wind, therefore it will feel a lot colder with that wind chill. We'll then look at the longer range, the GFS, GM, ECMWF and the ensembles, because of course we have been flirting with some even cold weather potentially into parts of early March, and we can still see that from some of the outputs, but other runs are pushing more of a westerly flow in and not getting that ridge of high pressure as far northwards, so still huge amounts of uncertainty as we head into March, and we'll cover that in the second half of the video. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. So you can see on the live radar we have this big sort of arc of precipitation, not too much precipitation through England, Wales and Scotland, but we do have more across parts of Germany, Netherlands and Belgium, and this is a big cold front that is pulling in quite cold air in from the northeast. Now it's going to cool us down to average to below average temperatures, and the feel like temperature, as I said a minute ago, is going to be really quite raw in the south and the east especially. We're seeing lots of sort of these drizzly showers out today. Again, no winteriness really within these, but it will make it feel really quite cold for a time. When that wind gets up, it will feel like it's freezing out there, even though temperatures will be widely in the mid-single digits. Now, across Scotland, of course, over the higher ground, we will see winteriness, most likely winteriness for pretty much most of the next week or two, but most other areas it will be hit and miss whether you see any winteriness at all, because again, we need the intensity of the showers and we need those surface temperatures to be cold as well, which doesn't look too likely at this stage. Most likely temperatures are in the mid-single digits. So if we do now go and have a look at those 2 metre temperatures, as of around 1 PM as I'm recording this, you can see it is generally average temperatures right now, and then once that cold front does spread in, it will be reducing those temperatures quite considerably down towards the mid-single digits. But of course, even now, when we still got yellows in, which is sort of mid to high single digits, it does feel cold out there. It does feel pretty chilly, and it will continue to get more and more raw down that North Sea coast, spreading more and more inland over the coming days. Now, if you do look at the UKV, we'll be able to see the evolution of this over the next couple of days. You can see that weather front eventually spreading through, and then lots of showers and areas of cloud coming in from the east. Then you can see some winteriness over some of the hills in northern England, perhaps, and you can even rule it out in some of these showers further southwards as well. But again, nothing major. I must stress that. No major snow, anything like that. Just maybe a few flakes from some wintry showers. As we head through Saturday, it will continue to feel very cold on that easterly wind. Not too many showers, but a few, and some thicker cloud coming in for a time. And as I said, those temperatures in the south and east will be cold, but it'll be the feel-like temperature that's really cold. We won't see really frost there, as the air will continue to mix with that easterly flow. As we head into early next week, we continue having that easterly flow, a bit more drizzle and cloud coming in there through early next week, and it just continues all the way towards the 1st of March. No real signs of any difference. Look at the mean sea level pressure, continuing with this east to northeasterly wind, feeling really quite cold. Now, the upper air temperatures are a little bit all over the place over the coming days. Coming in from the east, it's going to feel cold at all times, but the upper air temperatures will dictate just how cold it will be and if there will be any winteriness within it. Now you can see at the moment the colder air mass is spreading in around -4 to -5 degrees at 850 HPA, but it is cooling down even further than that for some areas, and it will really hit its peak coldness probably through Saturday into Sunday, and really only lingering beyond that in the far south and the east, where we have that stronger easterly flow. Further northwards, it is milder in terms of upper air temperatures, but it is equally cold simply because we're under higher pressure, so those surface temperatures will stay cold. As we head into Monday, there is uncertainty with the air mass, how long it holds on for, and whether we see a resurgence in from the east. You can see some more colder air starting to approach from the southeast by Wednesday, and there is big uncertainty. Yesterday's UKV run had this cold air hanging on a lot longer, so there is some uncertainty exactly with the extent of that air mass, and that will probably alter the temperatures by a couple of degrees, but it will be cold regardless, and it could potentially introduce a bit more instability and maybe some more showers, and those could be wintry of nature. And that again is something we do need to keep an eye on for early next week. Of course, it's a number of days away, so we'll continue to update that over the next couple of days. Now, if you put on the 2 metre temperatures, you can see this afternoon widely sort of 5 to 8 degrees in the north and east, maybe 10 or 11 further westwards. As we head through tonight, it will drop widely down towards freezing, around 1 or 2 degrees sort of max, and then into tomorrow, widely 5 to 7, so average to below average, and feeling even colder than that. As we head into Sunday, overnight temperatures once again will be coldest in the north and the west, but maybe in the south and the west as well, seeing those colder temperatures overnight dropping down towards freezing. Of course, North Sea coast, as I said, will remain a couple of degrees above freezing, but will feel very cold, and it's because that really raw easterly wind is dragging slightly milder air at the surface on and not allowing those surface temperatures to really drop. As we head through Sunday, again, 5 to maybe 8 degrees. Into Monday, once again, frost in the far south, and through northern and western areas, elsewhere, low single digits. And into Monday, again, 6 to 8 degrees. But I must emphasise, these are the thermometer temperatures. The feel-like temperatures could be 5 degrees plus colder than this. And then finally into Tuesday, you can see again 6 to 8 degrees. And then into the first day of March, again, still feeling quite cold. So it's not bitterly cold on the thermometer all the time, but with that raw easterly wind, it is going to feel like we're back in the middle of winter. There will be some precipitation around. Most of it will probably be some cold rain and drizzle, but there is the potential in some of the heavier showers and over any moderate hills. And if we do pull in cold air masses, if it does get upgraded ever so slightly, there could be some snowflakes out there, but I'm not expecting anything too major at all. Now, if you go over to the GFS and see what that is showing over the next couple of weeks, high pressure is building to our north at the moment, so we see the easterly wind. That hangs on all the way into the middle of next week, for eventually we do reach the point where the huge uncertainty comes in. Now, a few days ago we were thinking the high pressure would be running up towards Greenland, and that still looks like it could happen, but it's nowhere near as strong, and there's more low pressure in the Atlantic trying to push through. And here we're sort of in between. Very cold air is just to our northeast at day 10. Very close to us, Scandinavia getting absolutely creamed by some proper polar Arctic air. But southwesterlies are trying to push in. So again, which one wins out will decide what our weather is for early March. Here initially, milder air does win out, but it stays still to our south. We do actually pull in some cold air for a time there. So it's kind of in between, probably more on the side of milder conditions, and that with that block still there, but not as influential as we anticipated a few days ago. Still though, all the way at the end of the run, we're still seeing high pressure up towards Greenland. So it's one of those sort of patterns where very subtle differences can make a huge change at the surface, and I think it's just one of those we've got to keep an eye on. As we see the ensembles at the end of the video, they're still all over the place for the first week or two of March. Some very cold runs and some very mild runs, and I know probably people are very frustrated that we are continuing to see very little support for any single outcome. And I did say a couple of weeks ago that this is what happens when you have an SSW. It puts huge volatility and uncertainty into the models, and we're just seeing that right now with no two runs the same, and all of these runs deviating significantly day on day. And it is really skewing what we think could be happening. We know the potential outcomes, but we don't know exactly how it's going to happen and the time frame, as these things keep getting pushed back or upgraded or downgraded, and we're just going to have to see over the course of the next few days and the next few weeks. Now, if you look at the GM, see how that does compare. Again, high pressure up to our north, an easterly flow coming in, and that high pressure does move towards Greenland and potentially starts to try and pull in a northerly wind, proper blocking there. And at day 10, it does have a proper go at pulling very cold air in. But equally, there's some very mild air just to our west with this big low. Once again, this shifted slightly further westwards, slightly further southwards. All this cold air into Scandinavia and Northern Europe would be that bit closer to the UK. So very similar to the GFS, probably closer to colder weather here. It is kind of in between and very on the edge. But of course, we will have to see what does happen with this. If we do finish, for having a look at the ECMWF, again, high pressure up to our north, trying to pull an easterly wind in. It's pretty successful, holding that easterly wind all the way towards the end of next week, keeping it pretty cold. And all the way to day 10, it does have a go at building that high pressure up towards Greenland, and we do have a go at pulling in a northerly wind, but equally a southwesterly wind is trying to push in, and once again, kind of in between, not pulling that southwesterly in, but not fully getting that northerly in. So there is huge uncertainty with what could happen as we head into early March. And again, it is pretty frustrating that we've got really no improvement in the model output in terms of consistency. It's all over the place. Some runs are bitterly cold, others are very mild, and others, like the 3 operation runs today, are a little bit of both. Really nothing properly cold, but nothing properly mild, with some colder days, maybe some wind sheets in the north, stuff like that. So we will have to see exactly how it does play out. If you finish by looking at the ensembles, you can see the huge volatility as we head into March. Cold over the next sort of 5 or 6 days, turning briefly milder into the first couple of days of March, and then we see the huge uncertainty. Some runs down to -5 to -10, and even as we head into the second week of March, down to maybe -15 on some of the runs, others up towards the 0 to 5 degree level. Above average. You can see the mean from the ensemble members from around the 4th, 5th of March is still generally below average, and perhaps a good few degrees below average as we head into the second week of March. So cold weather is definitely still favoured, but whether it's bitterly cold or not, we will have to see. You can see the operational run there is definitely on the milder end of the ensemble members, but again, nothing ridiculously out of sorts. So we'll continue to have to see how it does develop. But once again today, no real certainty with what's going on, apart from it's going to be chilly over the next week and generally pretty dry. Again, look at the dew points. You can see they're generally around freezing, apart from that GFS and a few other runs. Those are the sort of runs pulling in the southwesterly. The majority still have the dew points around freezing. Again, that's indicative of cold, dry air masses, most likely from the north or the east. So the majority of ensemble members are still on board with that. Of course, you need dew points of freezing or below to get snow. And anything winteriness. So if you are looking for some snowfall over the coming weeks, whether that's falling snow or any settling snow, which isn't looking likely at this stage, but there's potential. But if you're looking for some falling snow, which is very possible, it is a good sign to see dew points below freezing. Again, snow depth spikes, there's quite a few snow depth spikes over the coming weeks, just showing you that the pattern is conducive of winteriness, but we're not seeing too much precipitation and the ground temperatures are a bit too mild. So I definitely think there is quite a decent possibility that quite a few areas see some falling snow if you do see precipitation, but there's not going to be too much precipitation, at least in the short term, apart from some showers in the east, which at this stage look quite light, so not producing anything too much. Could upgrade, but we'll have to see. And then, of course, the ground temperatures are way too mild to see anything settling. Now, if we finish by just looking at the ECMWF ensemble members for the midnight run, very, very similar. The next week or so is generally very dry and pretty cold. Then we see maybe 2, 3, maybe 4 days of generally average to slightly above average, but still under higher pressure, so still likely to be pretty cold. And then we see it go below average around the 5th, 6th of March, staying a good few degrees below average. Similar to the GFS, with quite a few getting down to that -5 or -10 or even slightly lower. Again, the ECMWF operational one is on the milder end of the spectrum, around that day 7 to day 10 point, but again, not an outlier by any means. So precipitation long term is increasing. It does look likely it's turning potentially colder as well into the first and second week of March. We will have to see exactly how it does play out. Huge volatility once again, and I know some of you will be pretty disappointed that we've not got too much certainty with it at this stage. However, if you do enjoy dry weather and cooler, colder weather, then the next week is pretty decent. Nothing too much is happening. The biggest impact really will there be a bit of ice in places and some frost, especially in the north and the west. There could be some wintry showers in the east, but nothing too substantial. And the biggest impact, I do think, is going to be that feel-like temperature with that easterly flow. It is going to feel really cold out there, even though on the thermometers it's generally going to be just a couple of degrees below average. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.